Palo Alto Parks and Recreation Commission meeting on Tuesday, December 16th, 2025, December 16th. I'd like to call the meeting to order and start with a roll call.
Commissioner Deng, Commissioner Kleinhaus,
Yes.
Commissioner Way, Vice Chair Way,
Yes.
Chair Freeman,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yeah, present.
Commissioner Smith, and Commissioner Axelrod.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Great, great. So now is the opportunity for public comments for those who want to address the commission on non-agenda items. If there are any members of the public who are in person or would like to address the commission in person, please fill out a speaker card and submit it to the clerk. If you're on Zoom, please raise your hand and the clerk will acknowledge your presence. So, any speakers?
We currently have 2 in person.
Okay, thank you.
Our first speaker is Naomi R.
Hello. How are y'all doing today? I think I sent a letter to all you guys, email, 2 days ago regarding my brother has a park named after him at the Ventura Elementary School, but it's, I guess, not an official park. And they said in order to have it preserved, or it's been there 51 years, since 1974, in order to have it preserved and not disappear, I needed to come talk to the Park and Recreation Commission. And yesterday I spoke to, at the City Hall meeting, and I was just trying to really find out direction on how to make sure it's an official, I guess, park, even though it's been there 51 years.
We can't respond to any questions.
You can or you can't?
No, we can't. So go ahead.
Oh, well, my brother
proceed.
drowned on a school field trip in '74 when he was 12 years old. I was 13, and my sister Ellie back there was 14. And I guess instead of a graduation, all the parents and the students decided they wanted to build a park to honor his death. And in 1974 he died, and then in 95 they tried to rededicate it. We tried to do it 20 years later, but it ended up being 95 instead of 94. And since then, it has changed from being an elementary school, Ventura Elementary School, to the Palo Alto Community Center. And I guess they have different classrooms that different people use for whatever purpose. I know there's a police substation there and a daycare and something else. And I was trying to find out what directions to take to make sure his park never disappears or goes away. And that's why I'm here today.
If I might just comment, Mr. Chair, very quickly. Ed Shikata, City Manager, just note that Ms. Roberts and I chatted after the City Council meeting yesterday, and so we'll be looking into the issue and work with her on the next steps.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Our next speaker is Juanita S.
Hi, good evening. I'm Juanita Salisbury. I serve on the board of the Friends of Palo Alto Parks, and I wanted to make an announcement about a donation. The Friends of the Palo Alto Parks is pleased to announce that it has received a $50,000 donation from Priscilla Chan and Mark Zuckerberg The significant contribution will directly support the Friends of Palo Alto Parks' efforts to enhance parks and open spaces throughout the city of Palo Alto. We are incredibly grateful for Priscilla and Mark's generosity and their commitment to our nonprofit's mission, said Jenny Smith, president of the board of the Friends of Palo Alto Parks. This donation will make a meaningful difference in our ability to preserve and improve the parks and open spaces that make Palo Alto such a wonderful place to live, work, visit, and play. Friends of Palo Alto Parks is a volunteer-run 501c3 nonprofit organization committed to supporting and improving Palo Alto parks, open spaces, and recreational amenities. The organization will provide additional details on specific projects and fund allocation in a forthcoming announcement.
There are no more public comments.
Thank you, and thank you, members of the public who spoke with us today, and we appreciate your time and the comments. Thank you. So I'd like to move on to the next item, which is the approval of the minutes. I'd like to confirm with the staff that we do not have minutes for last month's meeting. Is that correct?
That's correct. However, I believe if there first is agenda changes, additions, and deletions, and then did you want to take care of the minute announcement first?
Sure, let's go ahead and move to them. Sorry, I jumped out of the order there. So are there any agenda changes, additions, and any deletions for this week's agenda? Seeing none?
Okay, thank you, Chair Freeman. During your November 25th meeting, under item number 7, election of chair and vice chair, I misspoke. To ensure compliance with the Brown Act, the individual roll call votes for the vice chair election should be stated within the record, and the meeting minutes will also be corrected when they are finalized. The meeting minutes are not prepared or ready for this meeting, so you'll have those on your January agenda. And for reading in to the roll call vote, I'll do that right now. For the vice chair election, the roll call votes were as follows. Commissioner Brown voted for Brown. Commissioner Way voted for Way. Chair Freeman voted for Brown. Commissioner Dang voted for Way. Commissioner Kleinhaus voted for Way. Commissioner Axelrod voted for Way, and Commissioner Smith voted for Brown.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item will be the council liaison report. Yeah.
Thank you, Chair Freeman. As always, it is an honor and a pleasure to be the City Council liaison to the Parks and Recreation Commission. I'm completing 1 year in this role. I hope the new mayor assigns me back to the PRC. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I just did. It is so wonderful to be a part of this arm of the city work that is about joy and recreation and community and togetherness. And I have learned so much by getting to be your liaison, so thank you for having me. Council, like you, council has been very busy, and I think the greatest intersection of our work right now is the Cubberley Community Center and what the future will be. So I'll just give a brief update on what we discussed last night. Was it just last night? It was last night. So I'm the chair of the council's ad hoc committee on Cubberley, which is taking the work forward alongside staff, of course, who does the vast majority of the work. We've been meeting weekly or bi-weekly for months now, and it continues to be a project that is massive and proceeding at a breakneck pace because we all want to see it happen. So I want to begin with gratitude to the PRC and to your ad hoc committee for getting us to where we are tonight. I know a lot of work has gone in on your part. Former Commissioner Cribbs has played an important role as well, and we're very grateful for your partnership, for your wisdom, and dedication to the potential future of Cubberley. I also want to thank the community more broadly. Our collective affection for this dear old building, Cubberley, is palpable, and everyone's persistence in advocating in community conversations, not just this year, but the conversations that have been had in recent years, and really over the decades, as different groups of people have tried to figure out if something more could be done with Cubberley. The community's collective vision for what Cubberley can be and needs to be has arrived us all at this exciting point, with a finish line, we think, of November 2026. We shall see. I also want to be sure to recognize the tremendous efforts of our staff. Director O'Kane, who is here, of course, because Parks and Rec is her purview, and her entire CSD staff have been so dedicated to this work. Lauren Lai in the Administrative Services Department and her staff on the financial side, the city's legal department. There's so many groups coming together to figure out the various pieces of this, and of course, the city manager's office. Everyone's working so hard and so fast on the potential future of Cubberley that it's hard to imagine that they're doing anything else. But they are. There are other items on their work plan. So I just want to express my deep appreciation to the dedication of staff. They're the ones that do all the work. They get advice and input from the commissions and council, but at the end of the day, it's our staff. And boy, are they working their tails off on this. And I want you to know you're seen and very much respected in the work. So last night, our consultants presented the results of poll number 2. We plan a total of 4 polls for the community, and poll number 2 was conducted in November, right after the general election. And the poll entailed speaking with just over 400 people and showed a lot of public support for the project to a certain level. And we've got a lot of work ahead to bring all the parts together to make the project happen. Our task right now is to figure out what the public would be willing to contribute and to figure out the mechanism that will be used to acquire those funds, a parcel tax or a sales tax. The extra rub is that a parcel tax would require 2/3 of the voters to approve it, whereas a general sales tax would only require a majority of voters. Nobody said this would be easy, but together we will figure it out. We're looking at dollar amounts in the realm of raising maybe $100 million through a parcel tax and just over $200 million with a sales tax. But the entire project, phase 1, as we've outlined it, which includes renovations, acquiring the land, number 1, from the school district, renovations of really everything that's there to bring it to a level of safety and modernization, which we know is voters' primary concern. And then perhaps to add a few new buildings, new efforts. All of that, we're projecting about $392 million. So if 392 is sort of the ballpark for phase 1, and we think we can get 100 to 200 from the voters contributing their part, obviously there's a gap. And so we are, of course, deeply interested in figuring that piece out. We think that we'll be able to direct some development impact fees from the housing that is very much forecasted and on the horizon. And so that'll be a piece of what helps us pay for this project. And the third piece is the potential partnerships with organizations, foundations, and maybe individuals who are interested in being a part of this at a significant level. We are excited to be attracting wonderful potential partners like the Friends of the Wellness Center, and you all have been very involved in that effort, and potentially other partners out there in the community who are taking an interest in what revamped, revised, modern Cubberley Community Center could look like, and who are doing their part right now to figure out if they are going to join us in that effort. And then, with the development impact fees and potential third-party partnerships, we will, of course, go back to the community and ask the community to do just its fair share as well through either the sales tax or the parcel tax. Our job collectively is to keep listening, keep refining the project, and then make the case for what it will be and earn the community's support. So we have just less than a year to go and so much to do. But I think in this moment, when there is so much to be concerned about, the notion that our city might come together to renovate and add on to a beloved old community center that really has an exciting place in the city's future, I think that's something that fuels optimism in a sense that we can control our destiny, even in a moment when it feels like so much is out of our control in our nation, in our state. A place where the community can come and work out and relax and drop their kids off at an exciting event or class, where people of every generation from every community can feel a sense of belonging. That's what we're aiming for, that sort of critical third place, those places where humans can simply show up and be themselves and connect with each other. We need that more than ever. So there's a great vision for Cubberley. There's a lot of potential in the project, and we will continue with your help to get it to the finish line. And that's it for me. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, and thank you for that, for the background information. It's encouraging to hear what's going on with Coverly, and we'll keep moving forward with that, so thank you. We'll move on to...
Chair, can I ask a quick clarifying question?
Sure.
On the $100 to $200 million, is that factoring in the potential for lease revenue bonds?
I'm going to let the city manager answer that question.
At this point, not specifically. The lease revenue bond would presume we have a lessee that would generate revenue. At this point, we are discussing the potential for nonprofit lease, and as such, not the typical market rate lease revenue that would be generated. But we're continuing to explore a variety of options.
In other words, it's sort of a moving target that can change at any time, is that correct?
Well, say we're open to a variety of options. So we're trying to cover all of our bases while we focus in on the ones that are most viable in the immediate term.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from any other commissioner? Okay, we'll move on to item number 2, department report.
Good evening, Commissioners. Sarah Robustelli, Division Manager for Open Space, Parks, and Golf. I'll be delivering the departmental report. While that slide deck's being pulled up, we'll kick it off with a recap of our special event. The holiday tree lighting event was hosted at Lytton Plaza on Friday, December 5th. There were over 300 people in attendance, with 4 local groups providing entertainment. The mayor and council members led the crowd in holiday carols. If you could advance the slide, there's some photos to show this. And then light refreshments were also donated by Whole Foods and Coupa Cafe. If you advance to the next slide, there's a Cubberley activation that's taking place. This evening actually is the second of a 3-part family movie series that's taking place at the Cubberley Theater. Tonight we are offering, the Polar Express, and the first movie, we had about 70 attendees with 125 RSVPs. I don't have the number count for today's showing, but we did have 260 RSVPs. So we're seeing a large uptick of over double the RSVPs on that. And so we're hoping that you save the date for our third and final, as of now, the viewing of the Smurfs taking place January 14th. Next on our list, Councilmember Julie Lifcott-Haynes spoke on the Cubberley updates, so I'll move on to our upcoming special event. We're highlighting Hearts and Harmony for a Valentine's Day dance, which is taking place on February 13th from 5 to 7 at Mitchell Park Community Center. This is family and individuals of all ages, identities, abilities, and we invite you to join us. We encourage registration, and we hope to see you there. The turf study, since the lengthy discussion that took place November 17th at City Council, there was a motion to create an ad hoc committee to further discuss and bring back to council. Since that meeting, there has been 2 meetings with the ad hoc, and we're scheduled to come back to City Council for this item on January 12th. Next slide. The Stanford Palo Alto Community Playing Fields turf replacement Mayfield achieved substantial completion on December 5th. This project was delivered on time and on budget, and the fields were immediately opened for safe and public use. On the screens, you'll find a showing of tournament play that took place throughout the weekend following the opening. Staff will continue to work with the contractor on final punch list items, which is a consistent closeout feature. Advancing to the next slide, the replacement of the grass meadow is open at our Bulware Park. We've been working with the Ventura neighborhood community on this, and we've already received positive feedback. So the fencing came down and it's available for public use. Next, in regards to our golf course, the city continues to implement a remedial plan to improve wetlands at the golf course. In October, the unintended walking trails and invasive plants have been removed. Selected wetland areas were seeded and mulched with native plant material on a trial basis. To also supplement that work, we've planted 470 native plants, and these are acting as test plots and that we will reassess this spring. A few photos of the plants are grouped on the slide here. And additionally, a request for proposal has been issued to solicit for an ecology firm to provide a 5-year wetland monitoring and reporting, which is planned to begin the spring of 2026. An update on the Valley Water Project for the Tide Gate. This is on track to complete the first phase of construction by January 31st. Restoration of the work area on the right-hand side of this picture is starting. This has been used for a staging area, and that's going to be starting next week. Phase 2 of the project is for next year, which is slated for September and October. This will include a flap gate replacement and minor wing wall repairs, which will be completed in those 2 months. Next slide. Happy to report that a total of 15 trees were planted in late November, consisting of 3 native coastal live oaks and 12 southern live oaks. The trees were planted by the duck pond and sailing station areas. And then another CIP project to update you on. This just started yesterday. There's a removal going on for 12 eucalyptus trees that are situated adjacent to the Arrastadero Road. These trees pose a significant risk due to their proximity of the roadway, creating some potential hazards for motorists and pedestrians. Their removal will not only mitigate some of that danger, but also will reduce the fire risk and reduce fuel. And of course, this completion is scheduled to take place by the end of January, and there also is signage that has been placed notifying the stakeholders. That concludes our departmental report. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, as always. You guys have been very, very busy. But I do have a couple of questions on the report. It's encouraging to see the number of people, the numbers that are going up at the Coverly movie nights. And I think you said something like 260 people RSVP, which means that the word is getting out. It would be interesting to know how many, let's say, of those 260 people or even the early number of people knew about Coverly and sort of when was the last time they had been there, and were they, I don't know if you're doing a survey, asking people questions, or how?
I believe we are, and during our first movie, it was the first time people have actually been to Coverly, which is exciting, so the activation is working.
Good, and how are we, I guess, getting the word out? And it sounds like also with a doubling of the number that people are actually were excited about the project and I guess notified their friends as well. So that'd be interesting. Well, you said that there's one more event. Is that correct?
That's correct. And we've been getting the word out on all of our normal communication channels, which includes Uplift Local, our social media, webpage. So definitely blanketing the area.
And then my last question on the arrested arrow, I was going to ask you a question about you sort of jumped ahead on me on that one, that you have put signage out so people are aware. That's one of the things that a lot of people don't want to see, is all of a sudden trees are starting to disappear. And so I would assume that your signage is sort of making them aware of why the trees are being removed and whether or not there's going to be any replacement trees. Is that correct?
That's correct. We, although it's not required as a best practice, we're doing a one-for-one replacement.
Okay. And then one last question, sorry. On the soccer field, any feedback from, I mean, so it's been, December 5th is when it's open, right? So any feedback from anyone on players or parents or anyone else on?
I've heard positive feedback from the local clubs who were really excited to have access back. So only positives thus far.
That's good. That's what I want to hear. Okay, I'll open it up to any other commissioners. Commissioner Alcoright?
Yeah, a lot of exciting updates as always. Thank you. Now there's a winter film series at Mitchell that's outdoor, and a summer one, and you have a winter one here. Since they both seem to be pretty successful, is there any thought of kind of having a continuous year-round family movie night?
Oh, interesting. I'm not aware of that, but it's something that we can discuss internally.
Thank you.
Commissioner Kleinhaus.
Thank you. I'm glad to see the mitigation and the golf course moving forward and blocking those unplanned trails. Can you tell me what trees you're planting in Arrastradero, and are they going to be planted in the same place where the eucalyptus have been removed, or somewhere else?
Ben, Assistant Director Ben Heisting.
Ben Heinstein, Assistant Director. We're working with Grassroots Ecology to partner on doing a mitigation planting. So they've identified some areas that are close to existing restoration sites, not exactly where the trees are being removed, but in close proximity and where it makes sense. So there's a mixture of valley oak, coast live oak, and I believe some toyons as part of the trees. And what wasn't mentioned is that they are also going to cage some existing saplings that they've planted prior.
Thank you. I just want to comment that the eucalyptus in general, there are fire risk, and a lot of that is a reason to remove them, and they are not very good for growth underneath them for other species, but the size of these trees serve a lot of birds that can nest in them, so there is value to eucalyptus. So I understand that we need to remove them near the road and so on, but we need to be aware that they're not all bad, and so just keep that in mind. Thank you.
Commissioner Way? Vice Chair Way.
Thanks, Chair Freeman. Really glad to see all the festival activities, and I was really happy to attend the tree lighting as well this year, and a huge turnout. Quick question is, I guess we do not have the data, how many attendees are local, Palo Alto, how many are from other cities. I'm really happy to see the youth council members are there and also staging the food, etc. And I wonder if there is a possibility next year to have wider impact as well. And how I'm just curious how we broadcast this. It's a huge turnout already, and it can be also potential venue for the future, even movie night in that downtown Palo Alto, where the youth council will be there soon in a few months' time as well.
Sorry, Vice Chair Wei, was there a question regarding how we were getting the word out for, was it Coverly or the?
The tree lighting, and also do we have data, the attendees, are they all Palo Alto residents or they're also surrounding areas?
Yeah, we do not have that data. We did estimate that we had about 300 attendees. And again, we're using our typical kind of city channels on how to get the word out, which is inclusive of our website, Uplift Local, social media, and this was also listed in the Enjoy catalog.
Excellent. Yeah, it was a huge turnout. And I also see Chambers Commerce was there too, and they're having the second week California Street, similar tree lighting too. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Axelrod.
If I could follow up on Mayfield, sorry if this is covered elsewhere, but I'm just curious, since we're doing a field renovation, how did that come in terms of time and budget for what was planned?
It came in just for the full replacement, it was roughly 3.2 million for both fields and the practice area, as there was subgrade work, and then estimate it was on time. So the work started in July and completed December 5th.
And 3.2 was about what was budgeted for it, just to be clear.
That's correct.
Wonderful, thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Again, thanks for the presentation and the informative information. We'll go ahead and move to item number 3, which is discussion of partnering norms for commission staff effectiveness.
All right, that is my item. Again, commissioners, good to see you this evening. Ed Shikata, City Manager. Appreciate your making some space for this topic. Again, as was described, it's discussion of partnering norms for commission staff effectiveness. First off, I want to dispel any concerns that the reason I'm here is that someone did something wrong. That is not the case, and in fact, we plan and really do expect that this will be a very positive conversation. The purpose of bringing this topic forward is to actually be proactive in providing some tools and some guidance for both the commission as well as for our staff, really before any issues arise, and also to be a touch point should anything come up in the future that referring back to a set of guidelines could be helpful for. As is reflected in your report, the commission obviously provides important leadership for the city, including assisting us in development of our staff, many of which may be relatively new with the city or just simply in interacting with formal, such as it is, a formal setting of commission meetings such as we're here tonight. So in discussion among the departments that are involved with commissions, all of our as we refer to them, BCCs, boards, commissions, and committees across the city, and discussing among our departments how we can reinforce our expectations and guidance for our own staff in this venue, this forum, that the suggestion of having a discussion with each one of our commissions on norms for how the interactions occur could be one of the possible tools that we provide to reinforce really shared expectations between staff and commissioners. So the title we've got, Discussion of Partnering Norms, is somewhat intentionally high-minded in terms of its title so that we can focus on some overarching principles paired with some specific topic areas that can, again, provide some guidance through the various steps involved in the commission meetings. And we've had staff from the various commissions, including community services, provide some input into a draft that's really just a starting point that we've shared as a part of your report tonight. So do expect, that this conversation could result in your suggesting either changes or additions to what we've set out as a starting point, but really just wanted to give some space for this discussion. I'll also note that depending on the commission's interest, this is a topic that you might want to put as part of a future retreat, as you do periodically, annually, or as regularly may make sense, and then periodically considered and either updated, revisited as a way to kind of keep it in front of the collective body. Noting that the commission, as all commissions, have our citywide board commission committee handbook as one of the resources that you have. This is one that can speak specifically to the interactions that staff will have with you and in some ways how best to work together in this public venue. So with that, just appreciate the opportunity to bring this topic forward, recognizing this is really the first time that we're having the discussion, would yield to your guidance on how you'd like to proceed, both here tonight as well as how we might take that forward into the future. So with that, back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And before we begin, I'd like to ask my fellow commissioners if there's any clarifying questions for staff at this time. Commissioner Kleinhaus?
How does this document relate to the adopted boards and commissions handbook? I'm not sure, why aren't we just updating the handbook?
Sure.
What's the relationship between
Yep, fair question. In some ways, this is, I'll say, a little more tactical, and especially as it relates to staff, because the audience for the BCC handbook, if I could use that shorthand, is specifically you. And in this case, it includes really staff and our interactions with the commission. So it's also hopefully one page, or at least close to one page. And as such, your BCC handbook covers everything from formation to organization to how you conduct your business. And so this is intended to provide something that's a little more of a handy guide. In some ways, what's the word? A quick guide that can be used, and again, updated in the future as you see fit.
So eventually it could become an addendum or something?
Sure.
And what if there is a conflict? I mean, I didn't read, compare very carefully, but there could be some, I don't know, things that are not exactly matching, things are missing here or missing there. How do you deal with inconsistencies potentially? I'm not saying that there are, just asking.
Sure. Appreciate the question, totally appropriate. As it happens, we did review both and really intended this to reflect, again, in some ways a little more specifics, but again, with perspective of what's the staff role in the interaction. So we think that the consistency is there. I would note that. Also, we also recognize there's a variety of boards, commissions, and committees, and issues at the Parks and Recreation Commission may be very different, and also the dynamics and certainly the topic areas in comparison to the Planning and Transportation Commission or the Public Art Commission as other examples. So we want to provide opportunity for you over time or tonight, if you'd like, to reflect anything that's specific from the PRC's perspective into a document that, we could simply keep and then bring back to you periodically, or if you wanted to take a more formal approach to again, have a little more rigor to it, such as approval and any revisions. So completely open in terms of flexibility.
Sorry, last question in this thread. So is this expected to be going to City Council at some point, or is it just kind of an internal document?
For the time being, again, flexible, but we do want to start from the perspective that this could just live with the PRC. Again, this same draft has been shared or is being shared. This is actually only the second time, our second commission that we're having the conversation with. And depending on how those discussions go, it may make sense to try to keep it uniform, but we also want to provide the flexibility to have it reflect the interactions here at the PRC. So we're not structuring it as something that would need to go to the City Council. Not at this point, unless you felt that that was appropriate.
Any other commissioners?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so kind of give us the background, I guess, of, I'm assuming this might have sort of come to life, maybe as a result. I know we had there was a meeting with the different commissions and chairs and vice chairs 6-7 months ago. Did this come out of that, or is this something, I guess it's the first time I've seen it since we started this 3 years ago?
Yes, thank you. What the chair is referring to is that the mayor and vice mayor held a meeting with all of the chairs and vice chairs. And I'd say it's related, but not necessarily a product of it, because quite frankly, the staff had started to talk about how do we, again, set some guidance, both for staff as well as really wanting to have the conversation directly with the commissions in how we're interacting and how we're providing support, how we are working as a team ultimately, while recognizing we have very different roles. The discussion that does happen annually between the mayor, vice mayor, or at least it has for the last few years, is a kind of a rolling tradition, did bring up the topic of how do we reinforce, to a certain extent, conduct expectations in this public arena. Also recognizing that outside of Palo Alto, just overall, the public discourse and maintaining a level of collegiality, having difficult conversations, but ensuring that they happen in a constructive manner is definitely a topic that we are monitoring closely. We're constantly looking at how we can reinforce the positive and mitigate what could be negative. Again, not limited to Palo Alto. So it's related to the conversation we had with the mayor and vice mayor, but again, this in some ways is in parallel, but reinforcing.
Yeah, and I think what comes to mind with that as well is that, as you mentioned, all the commissions are different. All the staff that those different commissions work with are different. And so the reactions or the interactions could be different as well. And as we bring in different commissioners, I think this is timely because it's important that we have brought in some, we have added some new commissioners to our fold here, at the same time to be sort of reiterate some of the things that we might have forgotten, I guess, over the time. Because I don't think we've done a job of, like, until recently, sort of an orientation for new commissioners to know sort of, what staff role, what's the commissioner's role, and then the ad hocs and the liaisons as well. So appreciate this coming to us so that we can add some content to that.
Thank you.
We can open up for questions, yes.
Still questions?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Commissioner Wei? I don't know if-
Yeah, I just want to make a comment, actually. I think it comes really timely. And also, I think I will take your suggestion. This can be an item for our strategic retreat in February. And that's definitely something we should table out and discuss, and how to work better together as a team, between commissioners, among commissioners, as well as commissioners and our staff team. Thank you for bringing this to us.
Commissioner Brown?
How are the regulations that are summarized here that are in the BCC handbook currently enforced, both at meetings and within ad hoc committees, either by staff or by the chair? What are the responsibilities there currently?
Yep, we have, I think it's a fairly brief reference to any issues that may come up, can be discussed with the chair, with the council liaison, or with the staff that are involved. And then based on the nature of any issues, I think it is flexible from that point on. And so, depending on the topic, I would get involved, or our human resources department might be involved from there.
And what's the follow-up on sort of, with staff, they feel like that's satisfactory, or with other commissioners and they feel that that was adequately looked into? What's that process?
Yeah, I think as we would handle any collegial issue, that we would review it and then close the loop with the parties involved, while recognizing, depending on the circumstances, there may be issues of privacy, or privacy is the primary issue that comes to mind.
So,
Thank you.
Yeah, sorry. So when you say you close the loop, kind of walk us through that process. Is it the same from commission to commission? And I guess if there's an issue where maybe there's disrespect among
Right.
a commission or commissioners, how does that resolve? Who? I think you mentioned the city manager gets involved, HR possibly gets involved, but kind of what's the end results of that?
Yeah, again, it can really depend on the circumstances. I would say what's somewhat unique about the venue of a commission meeting, that, or a commission as a body, is that you're all volunteers, and that ideally, should any issues of interaction raise tensions, that then there would be conversations among the parties involved such that those issues could be addressed. That's the primary objective, and it's only when things need a more formal approach that human resources might get involved. And then on the close the loop piece, again, ideally, it's a conversation among the parties that can reach a common understanding and be able to move forward. But again, if and when it's necessary, then more formality could apply.
Commissioner Kleinhaus?
I have comments, so when we get to comments, let me.
No, you can go ahead. Yes, sure.
Okay, so I have a few, I understand that this is trying to create a collegiate, positive environment, but I have a couple of concerns that I think it would be good to clarify or to work on. One of them is number 7, provide feedback on staff work privately. So I agree that anything regarding to performance or personal comment should be done, or issue can be, if it has to do with performance, it needs to be done privately. However, the way this is phrased, it applies to work, and the work product is what we do here. That's where the discussion is, right? We're supposed to discuss the work product. And if we have comments and criticism of work product, that should be brought to light here, not in private. We can communicate this stuff in private as well. I don't have any concern with that, but I do think that this is a role to look at work product and provide feedback in public. And so I think this one needs to really kind of discuss more of the performance issue and not the work, because the work is our job to look at. And I'm a little worried about number 3, about professional respectful conduct and communication. While I totally support that, I think there could be a chilling effect on some of the discussions, or how some people may feel comfortable to participate, especially immigrants whose language and culture, where they come from, may not be exactly the same as what maybe this dominant culture would think. Now, I'm not saying that it's a reason to be rude to anyone, but I do think that needs to be some consideration that we're a very diverse community and people come from many, many backgrounds. And we don't want to have any kind of, I think we need some safeguards that these norms are not chilling the discussion or making people feel like they cannot participate for some reason. So this is the second comment, and so I commented on 3 and 7. And back to the issue of the existing boards and commissions handbook, I think if we're going to discuss it again in the retreat, I would like to see sort of a comparison of what's in the handbook and not here, what is here and not there, and if there is any that are in both. I'm not saying we don't need them necessarily in both, I think that's okay, but if there is any kind of inconsistency, it needs to be highlighted and a resolution needs to be available. So these are my comments for now, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown.
Excuse me. I'm very early into this, but it seems to me that we're all on the same team, and we're trying to get things done quickly and smartly. And so I think this is something that's very important, that we all work together with a lot of respect. And we are not paid people, but we have staff working really hard. And so I think the big thing to me is respecting the people that we're visiting with. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Axelrod.
Thank you. So just a couple of questions about the intent here. Is the intent to have this as a document that gets revisited on an annual cadence or thereabouts? And to what end? And I guess a second question is that there's a lot of this seems fairly generic, not specific to PRC. And I'm wondering if there's any other commissions that have this, and should there be a separate thing that's just overall versus PRC specific?
Sure. If I could respond to that, on the second point, I think as Commissioner Kleinhaus pointed out, the citywide perspective is what's called the BCC handbook, the Board Commission Committee handbook, and that, again, covers a lot of other things. But it does set really the baseline. This goes into a little more detail in ways that could be more helpful to this interaction. If the commission would like to add some elements that are very specifically to PRC, and certainly open to what that might be. At the same time, we did try to write this in a way that would be applicable across the board and provide some, the opportunity for customization if interested.
Okay. Commissioner Brown.
Thank you. I did watch the Human Relations Commission presentation and discussion, so thank you for that. That was, obviously they have a very different subject matter than we do, but it was a worthy discussion if the other commissioners have not had a chance to watch it yet. And I thank staff for visiting all of us, making sure that we get all the same information. In reading this, I was thinking more about the purpose of commissions in general and our charge, and reiterating the role of the commission as it relates to advising on specific subject matter policy rather than how the work is done. i.e. directing staff, and I think that's well laid out both in this document and in the handbook. We have world-class staff at the City of Palo Alto. We're very fortunate, and trusting them to implement the direction that's provided is critical to the success of the work that we do up here. We have had a lot of turnover in this department, and whether or not these practices have played a role in that, I don't know, but it should be something that we consider moving forward and making sure that we're doing everything that we can to work on the same team, as Commissioner Smith alluded to. We want to preserve that institutional knowledge and support staff continuity, not just from a budget perspective, but from a morale, spirit, and it just makes it a lot easier to get a lot of work done. We have Cubberley coming up and some other big lifts. We want to make sure we're as efficient as we can be. I think it's well integrated with the BCC handbook, and for revisiting that as commissioners, I think is a worthy effort. Multiple times a year, there's a lot of good information in there, and it's council approved and directed. And I think how it integrates with the work plan process, I know that's sort of been a living process about how we set our work plans and how they're approved by city council. But I think that touches on some of these things because it gets at the actual work of the commission when it's done, and that sort of chain of command. So I know that's changed over at least the time that I've been on the commission, but making sure that we do get that clear directive from city council on the scope of work that we should be working on, and how that relates to our retreat. I think we need to set really clear definitions on not just the ad hocs, but the liaisons, and really returning to the purpose of the commission of what are we responsible for doing, what are we not responsible for doing. We can advise on, we'd like more trees or more foliage in this area, but not the specific types of trees. That's really staff's role. So in terms of next steps, I would like further discussion at the retreat to continue having that clear direction, and making sure that we're staying in our scope and not overstepping in the areas or directing staff. Our role is not to audit what staff is doing, to audit their work, to tell them how it should be done, or advancing personal advocacy efforts to the commission's portfolios. Our role is very clear as defined by the city council, and I volunteered to fulfill that role, and I'd encourage our commissioners to do that as well. Thanks.
Okay, wonderful feedback, appreciate it. Perhaps we'll work with the chair as to whether this could fit in with your February retreat and continue the conversation, but conversation and this feedback tonight is very valuable.
Yeah, and just to sort of tag in on what Commissioner Brown says, it's important for us to know sort of kind of what our roles are at the commission as far as working as an ad hoc, working as a liaison. Staff has a lot of things on their plate, and also I think all of us have to realize that when that information does come to us through an initiative to be presented, there's a lot of, I think staff does a good job of really trying to put as much information into their reports so that we have all the information that we have on the commission to help them with making a decision. When we are meeting with them on an ad hoc basis or liaison, that's kind of an opportunity for us to kind of work together and see, as an ad hoc, what can we do to kind of take some of the labor, I guess, off their shoulders and to help with whatever that presentation might be. At least that's the way I've tried to operate. I think that those are the things that we have to clearly define as to what our roles are as members of an ad hoc and also as members of a liaison, and how can we contribute to help staff with that role. The assumption is that staff has a lot of interaction with consultants and historical information and working across the line with their peers in other departments. We don't always have that, and so we have to depend on them to kind of provide that information to us so we can provide and help them get to the point of the goal that we're trying to achieve. So thank you for that. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Thank you for bringing this to us, and look forward to continued dialogue at our retreat, so thank you.
Excellent, same here. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's move on to item number 4 on our agenda, which is a my vision's getting worse. Park improvement ordinance for 2100 Gang Road.
To kind of kick us off while some of our other team comes up, I'm going to introduce Tim Shumizu from the City Attorney's Office to go over some procedural issues on this item.
Good evening, Commissioners. Tim Shimizu from the Attorney's Office. I'm here just to quickly go over some background rules for a quasi-judicial hearing, which this is, because it involves a private development project, and this PIO could potentially impact that. The main thing for tonight is you will each have to disclose if you've had any contacts with owners, developers, applicant representatives, or members of the public pertaining to this item. And contacts could include conversations, meetings, site visits, mailings, emails, or presentations, during which you gain substantial or material factual information about this item. So we can just go down the line. If you have something to disclose, you can briefly summarize that, who you talked to, and sort of substance of what you talked about. If you have nothing to disclose, you can just say, I don't have any disclosures. So I would ask the chair if he would like to go in a certain order or just go down the line.
I'll start off as chair. I have not had any conversations with anyone regarding this project. I will say that I have looked at some of the public information that is on the website. I think it'll get a little bit more of meat on the project as far as the types of designs, and but it's other than that, that's my only information source.
Okay.
We'll start with Commissioner Kleinhaus.
I have a question first. Number 4 on the email you sent us about these rules says no contacts after the hearing. And following closure of the hearing prior to final decision, which I'm assuming when City Council makes their decision, commissioners will refrain from any contacts with whom? Anyone? I mean, what does that apply to? Who does that apply to?
So it applies to the idea that the commissioners should all have the same information, more or less, when they're making a decision about whether to recommend this PIO. So to talk with someone after this hearing means that you may have information that not everyone else does on the commission. So it's really important to make sure that if you have any questions about this project, you ask them tonight. And if you have questions that you maybe forgot or come up after this hearing, you can always direct them to staff, and staff will try to find out the answers to them, and will then share those answers with the whole commission so that all of you can have the benefit of that when you vote at your next meeting.
So after we make the recommendation, what difference does it make? I'm sorry, I'm just asking because I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if we make a recommendation tonight, then more information is not going to change the recommendation.
Yeah. So if you make a recommendation tonight and that is the commission's final action for this, then there's nothing really stopping you at that point. But if you don't make a recommendation tonight, then you need to really direct your questions further to staff.
Understood. So if we make a recommendation tonight, that doesn't apply anymore because we're done.
You're done, yeah.
Well, I just one clarifying item is this is listed as a discussion item and not an action item tonight. So it will be coming back.
Okay, so no discussion with anyone, until after the decision is made here. That's fine.
Yeah. So
no problem.
So you can always ask staff if you have questions after this, but no one, outside of that.
Okay, I have to disclose, I've met with the developers on site on September 30th to look at the trees and discuss their plans and what they were thinking of doing. And I had a question about where to find the CEQA documents. I called them and asked them. So I had to talk to Mr. Cohen and Mr. Cecil at that meeting and that call. I have not learned anything that is not in our package. Everything that was part of our discussion is available to us.
I have no disclosures.
I have no disclosures.
Other than occasional biking and driving through on the way to Baylands, I have nothing to disclose.
Commissioner
I
Ware?
have no disclosures either, because I haven't met anybody, but I'm thankful for Tim to send us the email on Monday. Thank you.
Great. If that's it, then I have nothing further, and I invite the staff to proceed at the chair's discretion.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, good evening. Senior Planner Steven Switzer here, and let's take a trip to the Baylands Athletic Center. So to orient ourselves on the project location for this parkland improvement ordinance, it would be located along the shared property line across the Baylands Athletic Center and the property addressed at 2100 through 2400 Gang Road. And it is approximately 45 non-native blue gum eucalyptus trees that we'll be discussing this evening, highlighted in yellow here. And further information on those trees as seen in the photo here. So a little bit about how we got here tonight. So this is a development application that's a site and design, a conditional use permit, and a vesting tentative map for that property located at 2100 to 2400 King Road that would replace 4 existing office buildings with 145 for sale townhomes with 19 units at below market rates or equivalent to low income. The site is located in a flood zone, and that necessitates raising of the site. And in doing so, the existing trees, which are 218, some of which are ornamental, landscaping on the site would need to be removed from that office property. And that also includes some potential impacts to the 45 city trees with the retaining wall proposed on that shared property line. To address the grade differential between the two properties. The applicant is proposing, just to highlight here, 648 new trees on their project site. And a little bit about those highlighted trees here. We can see majority of those located on the actual project site itself, indicated with either X's or say circles or squares, indicating whether they're protected or non-protected trees. And the protected trees are the squares on the city property, on that shared property line. Highlighted in yellow. And I pulled a section cut here from the civil drawings indicating that retaining wall that would be located on the adjacent property and with the finished grade. In areas based on the existing grade, it could go up anywhere from a majority of the site around 2 feet of a retaining wall and towards the utility easement with the overhead power lines, it gets up to 6 feet in height. So a little bit about those tree replacements. So 83 protected trees are being removed with the project itself. This also includes those 45 city trees, and that would necessitate 292 replacement trees based on the city's tree replacement values. The applicant is proposing an additional 356 trees to bring that total up to that 648 trees. So the applicant is able to address the replacement value of the on-site trees as well as the city property trees on their project site. So just wanting to highlight that here. As for some construction methods and the schedule for the actual development, it would be utilizing the property entrances off King Road to the project site. The equipment would also be stored on, say, that said property. There's not any anticipated impacts to the Baylands Athletic Center for construction, and flaggers would be used if the use of, say, heavy equipment is used as for the construction at that entrance. As for some athletic field use, the fields are scheduled for some use between the months of March and June. That also coincides with the general, say, avian migration season, which is between February and August. So we do have standard conditions of approval for development within that migratory season to limit construction. So that should coincide with the use of those fields, but the applicant has indicated that they will coordinate with those organized leagues to ensure that field use is minimally impacted. As for some responsibility on the applicant, if we're going through, say, that parkland improvement ordinance, looking at, say, that section 1, which is the updated arborist report, with the grading permit submittal. So that would be in conjunction with that grading permit to determine any of the impacts of, say, that grade differential and the added soil and what that might have on, say, the root systems of those eucalyptus trees. If we're going on to, say, section 2, the ongoing monitoring and reporting of trees during the grading of that permit. And section 3 is the tree replacement contribution. So it is at a cost, an in lieu fee, if you will, and that's coming in right now at $1,250 per 24-inch box replacement tree. So that's to ensure that urban forestry and that our parks, golf, and open space will be able to use those funds to establish those trees on the parkland. Having, say, that on the applicant and planting would be a little difficult to, say, monitor or establish either irrigation or some of those watering techniques. So having that reserved for city is the preferred approach. And just noting as well, any additional permits that would be required for the entitlement are not, excused, say, with this parkland improvement ordinance. The CEQA status. So there was an initial study checklist that was prepared for the entire development project, subject to that section 15183 of the CEQA guidelines, and it was determined that it was consistent with the certified environmental impact report with our comprehensive plan, just highlighting some of those appendix that were of those extensive studies, if you will, that was part of that initial study. The arborist reports, those appendix A1 and A2, as well as appendix E, which is a biological report that helped to inform that determination. For general timeline, we've gone to a few public hearings with the actual development proposal itself. If we're going back in time to when the city first received this development, that would be back in July 8th in 2024. Following that, a formal application was submitted on December 18th in 2024. It went to the Architectural Review Board to receive some early feedback in October 16th of 2025. And just last week, it went to the Planning and Transportation Commission that recommended its approval to City Council. So here we are tonight at December 16th before the Parks and Rec Commission, and we are scheduled at the January 15th with the Architectural Review Board, and we are tentatively shooting for a March council date for the project. As for the ordinance itself, as I kind of highlighted in that previous slide, The exact number of the city trees that will be impacted by the project construction is a little difficult to determine that until final grading plans are submitted and prepared for the project. That is captured in that section 1 of the ordinance with that language. So as for tonight, it's a little difficult to tell how many of those 45 trees would be impacted without having that level of detail available. The ordinance itself authorizes the removal of trees based on, say, that said updated arborist report. It is further indicated in that section 1 that trees that have a low likelihood of survival are the ones that would be removed. And the payment of in lieu fees for replacement trees is captured in that section 3 of that parkland improvement ordinance. As noted, or peppered, should I say, throughout that parkland improvement ordinance, urban forestry is involved throughout the process, and we do have a representative of urban forestry online available for some specific questions should those arise tonight. And I did want to point out here, we have been going, as you've seen on that timeline page, a lot of discussions with the applicant and working to ensure meeting city standards and trying to find a good project. The applicant is exploring a potential alternative option that could push the retaining wall further into the property site. That would reduce some of the density requirements on the project, potential loss of some units, and that could reduce some impacts to city trees, but just wanted to highlight that here. The applicant can provide some further information, but there has been some alternatives explored throughout this process. So I think in writing the said parkland improvement ordinance, there was some flexibility in that language to allow whatever, say, the Parks and Rec Commission would recommend, as well as what City Council would have for a preferred density on the site, and how to capture both of those options with some flexible language. And as for recommendation, just to have a discussion, obviously it would be ideal to have a recommendation on the project, but it seems like this is a discussion item. So I'll move right along to that I can entertain any questions on the item, and the applicant does have a brief presentation as well.
Can you hear me? Good, thank you. Good evening, my name is Michael Cohen. I'm a partner at Strata Investment Group. We're the developer of the project you heard about on Gang Road, which is adjacent to the Baylands Athletic Center ball fields. Stephen, we had a couple slides, if we could.
We are pulling those up. Bear with us.
All right, one more, please. If you can go forward from that. Thank you. So our project involves converting what is, it's an 11-acre site. It has 4 existing office buildings surrounded by a sea of parking, and our project is to convert that into 145 for-sale townhomes. The property is already zoned for residential units at the densities that we're proposing, and was included in the city's state-mandated housing element. Project has really specifically been designed for first-time homebuyers, especially families, mainly because, as I'm sure all of you know, there's a massive undersupply in this part of the Bay Area for first-time home buying opportunities. We've been working very cooperatively with the city on this project for more than 1.5 years, and as you heard last week, the project was unanimously approved at the Planning Commission. Next slide, please. Like many projects near the 101, and we've done a number of these ourselves, and there have been a number of them built in the region over the last 10 years. we have to raise the grade of the site, on average about 3 to 4 feet, to lift the site out of the floodplain. And this is important to meet FEMA requirements, and so our home buyers can get flood insurance. And as you heard from staff, as part of the many technical studies that we did under CEQA, it was determined that this required work will likely adversely affect some of these 45 eucalyptus trees. We don't know precisely which ones. We don't know when. We do know from the arborist report that 31 of these 45 trees are already considered to be in poor condition and will likely falter with or without our project, and among other things, present future health and safety risks. Go to the next slide, please. So the ordinance before you was crafted to address all of these issues related to the trees on the ball fields. At its core, our role is kind of to be the bank. We just pay for this stuff. Under the ordinance, we will be funding the monitoring to be done prior to and during construction to check the relative health of those trees along the back of the athletic fields. And then, depending on what the city tells us, we will fully fund the replacement, as we've said over and over to urban forestry. We'll do whatever you want. You tell us the trees you want, we will fund the replacement. It's our understanding those new trees presumably will be more native and better habitat, and definitely will be at a much higher number than exists today. And the ordinance was really specifically designed to give the city and urban forestry the flexibility to effectively phase the replacement program. None of us wanted to preemptively cut down a bunch of eucalyptus trees that we don't even know when or if they're going to be impacted. And at the end of the day, to provide the funds so the city can plant the trees that the city decides best serve the surrounding environment. I do want to raise one question. I'm looking at the city attorney. It was our understanding, based on the printed agenda, that today was not a discussion item, but an action item. We will, of course, defer to your wishes, but I've been getting my phone blown up by our legal counsel saying, I think this is actually an action item. So I did want to add that. Obviously, we will do whatever you guys prefer, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the right time. Thank you.
Chair, if I may, so just to clarify, this is an action item tonight. So we would ask that you ask all of your questions and come to a recommendation tonight. This is, I'm aware that this is not a typical process for a PIO to have a one-step decision process, but under state law restrictions for this kind of project, this is the last, we're out of hearings after this time. So we're bound by state law procedural requirements to make a decision tonight at PRC.
So I just want to understand, so, because I believe we had thought that this was going to come back to the PRC in January, right, sir?
Yeah, so it's a, so that was the original plan, I think, because we were under the regular PIO procedure, but because of these restrictions that Sarah didn't know about, a PRC needs to make a recommendation tonight. So I apologize for that oversight, but that's the state of affairs. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other presentations? Okay. Well, thank you for the presentation and the surprise information along with that. And thanks staff for the comprehensive background materials and the analysis that you provided in advance. Before we move to public comment, I also want to check whether any commissioners have clarifying questions for staff or the presenter. Commissioner Brown?
I think it's a question for staff. Just in summary of the very well laid out presentation, does the proposal in its current form, it meets all regulatory requirements related to trees, environmental, and construction?
If we're referring to, say, the development at 2100 to 2400 Ging Road?
Yes.
Yes, it would be meeting or actually exceeding the tree replacement requirement.
That was my second question, was relating to trees, whether it meets or exceeds, so it exceeds. All right, thank you.
Commissioner Askew.
Thank you for that presentation. Curious on the canopy, I presume that the new trees going in, while they're going to be in large boxes, they're still less mature. So just wondering, at some point, does the canopy get to match or exceed what's currently there, providing shade, et cetera?
So I'm definitely not a landscape architect, but I can try to begin to answer this. And I do know that we have the applicants available for some further questions, so I may defer to that, but I'll take a first stab. And I think that based on, if we're, say, referring to the city standards, if a tree, it's measured at the diameter at breast height, so the DBH, and that is determined on, say, whatever the value would be specified in our tree technical manual, it could equate to either 2 or 3 replacement trees for one tree. It's not necessarily just a 1-to-1 ratio. On that, we do have some further requirements that we add as standard conditions of approval, that those trees are somewhat mature, so reaching either heights of, say, 8 feet and higher, so that they are able to be established on a project site. And we can maybe have some further clarification here.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Morgan Burke. I'm with the Gazzardo Partnership with the landscape architect on the project. To answer your question, we'll be replacing the trees at a 3-to-1 rate on our project site. So that would more than triple the amount of canopy that you have currently there, just on our project side. I can't speak with certainty about how the trees would grow like over time, but I think you're getting a significant amount of canopy addition over time on the on-site portion of the project.
So on that, so the 48 trees or 45 trees that are being removed, are we talking about, those are the ones at where the wall is going to be? And if so, how many, you're saying there's going to be 648 new trees. So of the 648 new trees, how many trees will be placed in that location?
Yeah. Again, for the record, Michael Cohen. It's a little bit confusing because there's 2 different things going on here at the same time. The ordinance in front of you doesn't really address the project, but it is true, and we spent a lot of time talking about this at the Planning Commission last week, that we will be tripling the number of trees on site on our project and a massive increase in native habitat and a lot of work thinking about the understory, making sure that that is habitat friendly. The ordinance only relates to our project's impact on those 45 eucalyptus trees along the back of the ball fields. In that case, I think the way and I would defer to staff on this, the replacement, if there's enough room, could be 2 or 3 times as many of those trees as well. Again, the way we've set this up with the city is we'll pay for whatever you want, urban forestry, and the city tells us what they want to plant on that back end of the city fields, and we're happy to support that.
Okay, thank you.
And if I may, just a little clarification on that as well. So we do have urban forestry online. So I think the desire of that section 3 of the Parkland Improvement Ordinance was to capture having the choice left up to the city of what to do with its own property. Having that in lieu fee paid, so to ensure that urban forestry could select whatever species it would see fit, as well as what would work with the current programming of the actual park itself. So having that choice on the city rather than dependent on an applicant and ensuring, say, long-term maintenance of that new growth if it is decided on the site.
The other thing you had mentioned was that the exact number of trees is really not known until you really get into this. So it could be more, or it could be less. If it's more, how many more? And if it's less, how many less, I guess.
Well, we know the number of trees on the site. The number of trees impacted would be the unknown. So it definitely would be less than 45, but no more than 45 trees. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other commissioner for clarifying questions? Commissioner Way. Vice Chair Way.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And congratulations for getting the project approved. Low-income housing is very important to our city. So also thanks for laying out the mitigation numbers. I want to make sure we're evaluating the environmental impact holistically, not just through the net tree count lens. And while I appreciate you propose remove 218 mature trees, the city cites 648 replacement trees in total. However, I would like to some clarity in several points as a certified local naturalist. So mentioned by Commissioner Alexoid, the canopy loss, how long would it be realistically take for replacement for trees to restore equivalent to shade, carbon sequestration, habitat value? Is there any comparative data on the canopy loss or increase in the long run? And the species mix, do we prioritize drought tolerance, biodiversity, climate resilience? And the location of the survivability of the replacement trees, including the irrigation and maintenance commitment of the next 3 to 5 years, 5 to 10 years, or whether any of the removed trees are heritage or high ecosystem value trees, which cannot be functionally replaced in the near term. So I support development and that is responsible and forward-looking. And then congratulations on looking into that way. But I want to ensure the mitigation plan meaningfully offsets the environmental impact might be for us over the time, not just on the paper at the time of approval and the number of trees. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll open it up to public comments.
Yeah, so we have two speakers for public comments. Our first speaker is Herb B.
Good evening. I'm not sure what project we're talking about because staff indicated that the applicant has a different project, a smaller project. I tried to send you my comments by email in advance of the meeting so you could read them, but in an unusual process compared to other legislative bodies, they're not distributed to you automatically unless they're received 3 days before the meeting. Others do it very close to the meeting on the day of the meeting. So what I did is I prepared the copies for you, and I didn't make them for everybody. I get the council members. I forgot that there's a liaison here, and I made one for each staff of the clerk, the attorney, and the planner. My concerns about this project is that the city has not analyzed the project in terms of the comprehensive land use plan for the Palo Alto Airport, since the site is within the airport influence area and therefore is subject to those criteria, regardless of the other exemptions that may be referred to. And these may affect the viability of the project because they affect things such as height, and that height would include the raising of the grade plus the project height. It includes, in some cases, mitigations that are required in the construction of the building to protect units against sound. It also has other problems of deed restrictions that anyone buying one of these units would have to sign a deed restriction, understanding that they may be subject by the annoyance from plane traffic, and that in the future it might get worse just to be more development to the airport. And all that information should have been made available to the applicant beforehand. And so when I first heard this was just a discussion item, I thought that was good. But if you're going to make a recommendation, it should be that that information should be made available to the applicant and prior to this coming to council. Another issue of concern is the ability of the public and the press to know what staff is doing. Just yesterday, staff issued press release that they are doing away with maintaining the building eye application that they've been paying for, where you can look at planning entitlements and building and enforcement, and they're creating a new one called Palo Alto View, and we don't know when that's going to be ready, so the public get information. So another condition would be that nothing be new be put on it until then.
Your time has
Thank you.
expired. Up next, we have via Zoom, Winter.
Winter Dellenbach. So in Palo Alto, in our tree ordinance, we have a concept of right tree in the right place, planting the right tree in the right place. I would like to expand on that concept to right development in the right place. And this development fails, I think, on pretty much every single count. When I think of our sustainability and climate goals, this project is just an insult right down the line. It's built in a flood site in a flood zone, so we have to have this ginormous retaining wall from 2 feet to 6 feet or even more. That's so heavy that it's thought that it's going to kill off a whole lot of trees. There's also groundwater rise. We're bringing in zillions of truckloads of fill, which I'm assuming is fill on top of the fill that's already there, which in earthquake is subject to liquefaction with dire consequences. It just seems like an every single thing that Palo Alto has worked so hard for, this project just it disregards all of it. I would love to have an analysis of how much greenhouse gases are going to be created because of all the truck trips bringing in all of this fill soil and the cement in the retaining wall, the greenhouse gases. In terms of the trees themselves, it's not just, I think it's great that there's going to be a lot of native trees, and I have a lot of trust in our urban forester, Peter Gollinger, to do the city trees. It blows my mind that this is a private project could be wiping out city trees, but setting that aside, but they have to have a big enough canopy. A lot of the trees, both on-site and off-site, that they can not only sequester carbon big enough to do that, but also can provide actual cooling. And I'm very disappointed. I have been an advocate for below market rate housing in this town for many decades, project by project. And this one it is a great disappointment. Thank you.
There are no more public comments at this time.
Thank you. We'll move on to the commission for discussions. I'll start with Commissioner Kleinhaus.
I have a lot of comments. So our charge is to look at the trees that are city trees, not at the development itself. And I will say only that I really appreciate that the project itself, the planting palette, includes a substantial number of Californian native trees and shrubs, including oaks, toyon, ceanothus, buckwheat, and other species that really provide ecological value on the development, and I appreciate that. I would also hope that staff will look at the plan and look at those interfaces with the city property and see how that can be improved. Having said that, I'll move to my next topic, and I want to say something about the city trees now. So the 2008 Baylands Master Plan, which is still in effect, allows development on adjacent private lands, but it also emphasizes protecting the Baylands resources and parks function. And so removing large mature trees in the Baylands, trees that belong to the city, in the Baylands Athletic Center to accommodate private development may not be easy to fit unless we actually make sure that the net ecological benefit outweighs the impacts to the natural resources that exist there. So I'm looking at that from this point of view. This is an opportunity. Those trees that are there, the old eucalyptus, they're very tall and big. They provide some screening for wind. They have advantages, but we could do better for the ecological system in the Baylands if we look at how and what to plant. So I'm going to say a little bit about my background here because I think some of my next comments need that context. I have done a lot of consulting and a lot of comments in the last, I don't know, many, many years. I worked on parks planning. I worked on development on many, many different kinds. I worked on habitat and how to create habitat on campuses and in nature. And I know CEQA pretty well. And this is why the City Council appointed me here as an expert on many of these things. So I will speak about species because I think it's really critical and it's expected of me. And I will continue to speak about those things because that is why I'm here. And so here is what I would like to say, basically back to the project. If we're going to look at an opportunity to provide habitat or higher habitat value than what is removed in that location, then it's important what we plant there. And it does, not all the trees that we may want to replace will be as big as these eucalyptus, but we can create a lot of habitat value with willows, white alders, and Fremont cottonwood and other trees that I'm sure the arborist may consider himself, but I would like to recommend them. And some of the eucalyptus may be saved, and that's okay too. So I think we need to look at that. And I like the gradual, like, okay, let's see how things survive our work, and we'll remove some over time, and maybe not all of them. And maybe if we do remove all of them, then we'll figure out what is the best ecological solution for the loss of these trees. And so I don't necessarily want to see all the answers right now, because obviously they don't have them. But I think this needs to be captured. And I would like to hear the city arborist respond to this. How do you capture this information so we do get the habitat value and we don't end on or near this site and not, oh, we need some trees up in the foothills, let's plant some oaks in the foothills. I do think that it's very, very important that the mitigation, if you like, if maybe it's not the right word, but the replacement happens nearby, maybe not right there, but nearby, and that it provides ecological value. And because stuff does change, I mean, I think we have a wonderful arborist and stuff, but people may go and do something else. And so it's really important to capture institutional knowledge. And so this needs to be captured somehow in the documents that move forward. I don't know necessarily how. I would put it actually right in the ordinance, but if that's impossible because we're voting tonight, maybe you can still make that change before it goes to city council. And the right tree in the right place, which is what Winter spoke about, I think it's important here. It has to be trees that belong in the baylands, and they have to be in the baylands. That's kind of my general thing. I'm not opposed to this project. And also, I'm not expected to talk about the project. So maybe if I were, I can't say anything about that. But I do think that we need to look at how do we make the ecology of the baylands better and go back to the 2008 plan, which said, yeah, private owners can develop their land, but we need to have a general benefit. So I don't know if Peter wants to respond. And
Sure, I'm happy to. Good evening, commissioners. Peter Gollinger, urban forester. The intention when we crafted when we helped craft the ordinance here was for the 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 money that would go to replacing trees would be used on this site or nearby this site. And the intention was to plant primarily bayland related species and native drought tolerant species. I don't know that that's specifically captured in the text anywhere, but that was the intention. Um, Tim, is it possible to add a finding without changing the ordinance before it goes to council?
Sure, the PRC can always vote to recommend certain additions that staff can then wordsmith and put into the ordinance before it goes to full council.
I just didn't know if that was something that was possible because a lot of work went into the actual ordinance language, so that doesn't seem like a good idea to mess with that if it's not needed. So. Did I successfully answer your question, Shawnee?
do you have any language that you would propose for a finding that allows you essentially or your department to actually implement what you said that was the intent?
And
if you can provide language, I'm happy with it.
I can definitely work on something. The intention was to do it as a joint project with parks because we want to make sure that, even though urban forestry is responsible for planting and maintaining the trees, the park staff is the one that's responsible for maintaining the parks. So we want to make sure we're working together so that whatever we're planning is going to be providing both ecological habitat and providing for the use of the facility. So that's what the intention was.
So can you phrase it in a way that does not, by any means, we don't want to stop using the facility, right? So can you provide language that captures the intent, including that the facility is there and we're not taking it out or something?
Definitely. I will send a draft to Sarah to discuss while more questions are asked.
And do we need to put that into a motion that staff will develop a finding to reflect the commitment to native plants and habitat nearby, near this? I mean, I don't know exactly how far, but I would like it to remain in the baylands.
Yeah, so if that is the will of the PRC, they can surely add that to their motion.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Brown?
No comment, thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
I don't have any comments.
Commissioner Axelrod?
So I think this is going to be potentially a great project, and I'd love to see more housing around, and especially something that's going to be geared towards families. And that's what led to my questions about the canopy coverage, because if we're having 140 plus new units, there's likely to be kids there, and they have great use of mature trees that, you know, they can play in, climb in, be under the shade of. So to that point, and I don't know if this is something that can be included in the forestry report, but something that provides at least some trees that are mature enough, that provide enough shade, provide enough play area in the baylands close to these folks. I think that would be something ideal for the families there to experience. Thank you for the consideration.
Commissioner Wei, Vice Chair Wei.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I actually echo what Commissioner Crosser just said about the mature tree useful, and also want to recommend, as I mentioned before, it's a canopy-based mitigation, not just tree counts. The noise level one, the public comment mentioned, has been, especially airport noise, has been complained by the residents for a long time in the city. And we should look into the project to demonstrate canopy equivalence over time, not only the numerical replacement ratio, and also prioritize large canopy climate resistant species as what mentioned before, Ashani mentioned before, and also guarantee the survival maintenance period, recommending minimum 5-year maintenance replacement guarantee, and then looking into on-site replacement first, off-site second, and enhance mitigation for nature, retaining some of the mature heritage trees, and recommend higher mitigation ratios or preservance measures for any mature high ecosystem value trees removed, and also in consideration what families, children might need for those trees they're familiar with. Thank you.
Commissioner Kleinhaus.
Should I make a motion? Or do
Yeah,
you want to have more discussion?
I actually have a comment.
Yeah.
So I just want to raise a related concern for the record, while recognizing that it may fall outside the direct scope of our tonight's action. So as described in the material, the project includes extensive landscaping and tree replacement, right? But I did not see any defined park spaces, by which I mean play structures, playgrounds, or neighborhood scale recreation areas, either within the project or immediately adjacent to it. So given that the nearest traditional parks are several miles away, can staff confirm whether the absence of an on-site park or park amenity has been acknowledged as part of the broader planning review, even if it's not being addressed through the particular park improvement ordinance?
Through the chair, if I may, the project is subject to development impact fees, one of which would be the in lieu fee for parkland. So that is captured. The site plan itself of the design, while not meeting, say, the necessary definition or providing, say, a city available public park, does have play areas. There have been some revisions with these recent hearings within, say, the past week that we had with the Planning and Transportation Commission, as well as that earlier one in October with the Architectural Review Board. So there's been a little bit of tweaking of the design to kind of meet some of those recommendations from those hearing bodies, so that considerations have been made for play spaces for those prospective residents on the site itself. But
Okay, thank you for the clarification of that. All right, yes, let's make a motion. Sure.
So I'll move the staff recommendation to recommend that city adopt the park improvement ordinance at the Baylands Athletic Center for the tree removals associated with the 2100 Ghent Road Development Project, with an addition that staff will provide another finding that includes a commitment to locally Baylands tree species, canopy, and that it should be in the vicinity of the area where the trees are being removed. And I'm not trying to define how far vicinity goes. I mean, I just want to see that it provides the same ecological value or better, actually. So that's my motion. Any second? Or do you staff want to respond to this? Do you have any suggestion as to language now, or do you want to develop it later?
I can second the motion.
If I may just chime in, I think that language and would be flexible to develop something that would address the concerns that were raised in the discussion this evening, so.
Can we put the motion up on the screen?
Well, that's happening. Can I ask a clarifying question? If that's not included in the findings, would that not occur already based on our tree technical manual and regulations?
So the replacement planting would happen. The focus on native and climate adapted species would happen. I don't know that we could guarantee really close to this. So let's say staff completely turned over and the only thing they had to go on was the tree technical manual. They would get replanted. They may not be right at that site or right nearby, and there may not be a focus on Bayland specific species. That's the request here, is the focus on Bayland specific species and near the project site.
Yes. The way I read the documents, there was no commitment other than giving staff the funding to plant something somewhere. So that's good, but in this case, because it's the Baylands, we need to really look at what is best for the Baylands, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Can you put the motion up on the screen?
I said Baylands tree species and in the vicinity of the tree loss. Canopy would be nice. I don't know. Some of these trees have larger canopy than others. I wouldn't necessarily, it's fine. I mean, Baylands tree species, that would be things like white alder. There's quite a lot, actually, that can be used. And then the vicinity of this, in the vicinity of the impact. I don't know, again, it's nearby in the Baylands, something like that.
In that, I think the first slide that you put up that had the trees by the proposed wall. So are we planning that the trees would be planted after the wall is installed, or in front or back? I mean, what's the location of those, I guess, my question.
So if we're referring to the project site, so there would be the retaining wall on the property line or slightly on the subject property address at the 2100 King Road, and then there is proposed trees planting in between, say, that retaining wall and that raised land or grade, if you will, and the actual townhomes that would be on the rear. So
Be the rear of the wall.
yes, it would be roughly, I believe, based on the plans, 20 feet or so, perhaps in some areas 16. And in between that, there would be trees planted. There would be some vegetation along that rear property line on the project site.
Okay, thank you. Okay, are we good with the motion?
You have tree species twice, so remove the first species. And comma after the second species, the one that's still there. Thank you.
Just to,
Vice Chair, is this okay with your second still?
Yeah, looks fine to me. I wonder if you need to look into the survival maintenance period at all, just to make sure the mitigation for mature and heritage trees are done properly.
Mr. Gollinger, is that part of what the city requires anyway, or do we need to add it?
So since they are city trees being planted and maintained by the city would be monitoring and replacing as needed, just like we do with all of our other plantings.
Okay,
Because it's not going to be done by the contractor, it's going to be done by city staff.
fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
if I may, if we could just add, because this is all commitments that the city itself would be committing to doing, if we could just add the word city to, that includes a city commitment to, just to recognize that this is city staff's work and not the project applicants or someone else's.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, I think we can put it out for vote.
Okay. Commissioner Smith.
I say yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Axelrod.
Yes.
Commissioner Brown.
Yes.
Vice Chair Way.
Yes.
Chair Freeman.
Yes.
Commissioner Kleinhaus.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, motion approved.
Great, good job, thank you. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the presentation, it's very, very well done. Let's take a 5-minute break before we start the next.
Right, thank you.
It's good to stand.
Okay. Welcome back. We'll go ahead and start with item number 5 on our agenda, which is the annual aquatics performance update by Mr. Shepherd.
Good evening, Commission. I also wanted to take a moment. I believe Sharon Eva is online, who manages the contract for our Palo Alto Swim and Sport operator, Tim Sheeper. He is here this evening, also with Carol, the CFO, and will be presenting on the report. So I'll let you take it from here.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. Tim Sheeper from Palo Alto Swim and Sport. I'm here to present the 2025 Annual Aquatics Report. So we've put together about 10 slides just in summation to the annual report, some of our highlights and what's going to be coming up in 2026. So the first highlight was our increase in youth swim lessons, group swim lessons. In 2024, we had 22 weeks, and that was up from what we were doing in our previous years. And so in 2025, we increased to 33 weeks. I'd also like to show the amount of scholarships that we've provided. And so in 2019, we started out with 180 swim scholarships. These are for the youth and their swim lessons. And then through the pandemic and post-pandemic, there was a little less. And then we averaged 205 to 300. And then in 2024, there was a changeover in our partner, Beyond Barriers Athletic Foundation. They did a restructure. They raised more funds. And so in 2025, we were able to scholarship 878 swim lessons. And a scholarship is that the family is paying $5 for their swim lesson, their 30-minute swim lesson. And a new thing for 2025, and we offered, or we are offering water exercise programs. So on noontime, a few days a week, we're doing water exercise in the shallow end of the performance pool. So with the increase in swim lessons that we offer, it kind of tracks that it's best to offer increased open swim or family recreational swim, because we use the play pool for swim lessons, and it's a large enough body of water that we can use a couple of the pedals. There's 5 pedals there, or 5 portions of the pool. 2 of those pedals are sufficient for swim lessons, and so we use the other half of the pool or so for open recreation. So once the kids finish their swim lessons, they could go to the other side and they could practice. Family members could come in, and it just becomes more of a better situation for kids to learn. And so we went from 16 to 34 weeks. So I just want to point out that the lifeguard staff is the backbone of the organization. For every time the pool is open, every minute that the pool is open, there are lifeguards on duty. And to increase swim lessons, we need to increase our lifeguard staff. To increase open swim, we need to increase your lifeguard staff, and so on and so forth. And lifeguards are really difficult to come by. And in our previous years, we were struggling with that, and so we restructured everything. And we brought and trained more lifeguard instructors so that we can be in control of people wanting to be lifeguards, and we can have the instructors. It's a long process to be a lifeguard instructor, to instruct the lifeguards, to certify them. And then we've brought in also and have on staff lifeguard instructor trainers, which are the level above, so that we now have 2 lifeguard instructor trainers, 6 to 10 lifeguard instructors to then help certify up to and over 200 lifeguards annually. And you can see in 2024, we certified 201 lifeguards here in Palo Alto. But since we're doing it year-round now, and we need indoor space because it gets quite cold and in the winter months, so we take the lifeguard certification classes over to Menlo Park during those times because we have indoor classroom space. And in our annual survey, there's about 10 questions asking the aquatic users about our operational habits. What do you think of our lifeguards? What do you think about the condition of the locker rooms, the pool deck, customer service, the website, et cetera, et cetera? And 86% are satisfied to extremely satisfied. And just throwing out some trends. So the top left, you can see the facility visits in the last 4 years are pretty level. You could see the lap swim visits from the pandemic when it was the highest, and right after the pandemic, it was the highest. And it started to then level out, and for the last 3 years, it's been what it was kind of prior to the pandemic, and so we're reaching kind of stability. There's increase in open swim visits because, of course, we're open, or an increase in the swim lessons, more of a dramatic increase in the number of youth swim lessons that we're providing annually. Just to give you an idea of the resident usage during these programs. So lap swim is heavy resident usage at 82%. Open swim is 54%. Swim lessons, 78, and master swim is adult swim team, if you will, program with the coach on deck, and that's 67% residents. And we just wanted to point out that there hasn't been any fee increases, no user fee increases to the users in the past 3 years. And then the last slide is what to expect in 2026, what our plans are, and they're already in motion, is increasing the number of weeks of swim lessons that we're providing. So we've already begun registration and signed up for winter swim lessons starting January 5th. And so we're going to attempt to keep the lessons going close to year-round. And we are decreasing the summer swim camp fees, and we're providing an early bird registration, which is going to be from January 5th all the way through to the end of March. Be a significant savings. So I'm open to questions, and thank you.
Thank you. I've been here for 3 years, and each year your presentation gets better and better. I mean, as far as the number of things that you're doing with the city on the swim program is just pretty amazing. So keep up the good work. Really appreciate that. Yeah. So I also want to begin by thanking staff and you for today's report and the presentation. And like I said, we truly appreciate the annual report, and it just gets better and better. So thank you for that. Before I open it up for public comments, any clarifying questions from any of the commissioners?
We can ask questions later.
If you have a clarifying question, you can ask now, but later. Okay. Commissioner Alcazar.
For the statistics that you presented, is that just for the Palo Alto facility, or does that include Menlo Park?
Just Palo Alto.
Well, I will ask the question, 54% of residents, where are the big other folks coming from, the other 46%?
That is not known to us. They're just not residents, but what we see is, and what we hear is, Rinconada Pool has a legacy of attracting people from up and down the peninsula, from as far as San Jose to San Francisco, that they're attracted to that pool because of the size of it, because of the features, because of the park surrounding it, and because we open for a long period from 11 o'clock to 5 o'clock, and you'll see families that will spend their whole Sunday or their whole Saturday there.
And no real statistics on our friends from East Palo Alto?
No hard data from that.
Thank you.
Do you have a breakdown? I mean, you show some numbers where you've increases in different areas like lap swimming and so forth. Do you have a breakdown by age, or is it pretty much the same group of people that are moving from, like you could have someone move from regular lap swim to master swims, and from your junior programs to others? Do you follow that to see if there's if that's helping increase your numbers?
The data that we do have is that it's close to 50% seniors and adult users. So as far as moving from program to program, we pretty much, the lap swimmers are loyal to that program, and then the masters are loyal to that program. There's about 300 monthly members who pay a monthly fee to get in to use the pool so they could use it more frequently at a lower cost. And there's around 50 who are masters swimmers who use those workouts, those hourly workouts during the week.
Okay.
I don't know if that answers your
No,
question.
that's good. That's kind of
Okay.
Any public comments, Eric?
There are no public comments online or in person.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Way, I'll start with you because I see your hands up. Vice Chair.
Thanks, Chair Freeman. Firstly, congratulations. Want to acknowledge a significant progress in our PERDIX programs, increasing scholarships from 180 to 878 in 2025. It's something, and expanding the recreation swimming from 16 weeks to 34 weeks is really, really meaningful improvement of access. So quick clarification, the recreation swimming, how does it differ from lap swim and open swim? Are they, I just wanted the terms to be a bit more clear so I understand that a bit better.
Yes, yeah, thank you for that question. Lap swim is done in the predominantly in the lap pool, and swimmers are just moving back and forth across the 25 yards. Open and recreational swim, we use them interchangeably. Open family swim, and that's done mostly in the play pool, and sometimes in the summer it's done in the shallow side of the pool, and then in the summer we also open the diving boards, and that's considered open recreational swim. So it's unstructured. It's just the lifeguards watching kids and families play in the water.
Okay. Talking about lifeguards, great, you're certifying more. Since I'm a youth liaison, I want to think and explore whether we actually intentionally build a local pipeline by certifying, training local Palo Alto youth, say aged 18 and over, as lifeguards and instructors. Whether just a summer program, which something we can work with the youth council to empower youth and increase their activity for sports, especially swimming, which might be great for mental health as well.
Was there a question in there? I'm sorry.
Yeah, do we have an intentionally like a local pipeline to certify training our Palo Alto?
Yeah. The local pipeline is coming mostly from the local high schools.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Yeah, finally, we probably just want to, from your perspective, what we could do here to help you to take this great program further to the next level. Thanks for the great work. I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Axelrod.
Thanks. So I've been fortunate enough to use many of the Team Sheeper facilities for family swim lessons and the like. I just wanted to see if you had any thoughts on contrasting the Belhaven Burgess and what we do at Rinconada, because just frankly, from our usage and circle, it seems like the hours are a little better in Menlo Park. The fees are a little bit cheaper. The accessibility, the features, you have the dryers that were the ringers of clothing that wasn't around. So it just seems like it's not quite on par. Do you have some comparisons between the Menlo Park and Palo Alto facilities, or some thoughts on the differences?
Well, I think the fees in Palo Alto are either equal or less in Palo Alto, except for our summer camps. So our summer camps just decreased a lot in Palo Alto. I mean, in Menlo Park. What other specific? They've been on the same price, like for lap swim and open swim. It's been the same for years. It's just recently changed this year in Menlo Park. It's gone slightly down for the residents, but it's really increased for the non-residents.
And like the hours at Burgess seem to be a lot more than at Rinconada.
There's a different pool structure. There's a performance pool, which is what you have in Palo Alto. And then there's an instructional pool. So there's a more of a separation. And there's also a legacy team in Palo Alto through Palo Alto Stanford Aquatics. And they're a large legacy team. And so they use a lot of water time in the afternoons. And that decreases the basic usage for public to come in and use a pool during those times.
Thank you. I don't know if it would be appropriate, but it'd be lovely if you could work with staff to just show the differences between the Menlo facilities and Rinconada for things like access times for different levels, fees, amount, open equipment, just to have apples to apples. So.
Yeah, I think there's many things in Palo Alto that exceed what is happening in Menlo Park. I think for one, the way that the city and the public works controls the pool, the water, the chemistry, the facility, and all the decks is superior to what's currently happening in Menlo Park. So the sustainability and the amount that the pool is open and the fluctuation of the water is managed differently in Palo Alto.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other, Commissioner Brown?
Yes, thank you for the presentation, as always. Our family were summer pass holders this year, so that was a lot of fun, and it seemed very well utilized every time we were there. It's a great program. And then both my kids are Team Sheeper students since they were 6 months old, so really appreciate the instructors are always phenomenal, great care and attention. For the lifeguards, if you had classroom space at Rinconada, is there the interest and demand to offer those certifications in Palo Alto, or is it working the way it is right now, having those in Menlo Park?
Our preference is to do them in Palo Alto. There's usually a little more water space because there are 14 lanes, and there's usually more deck space that's just not covered, right? So if there was like classroom space, but it has to be real close to the pool, yeah, we would do all the classes here.
Okay, that's helpful. And then this was the first time on the survey data that I really drilled down or saw the data regarding the website feedback. It seems like a lot of it was really related to Perfect Mind rather than the cheaper website. I always feel like you guys are very communicative with any changes to locker rooms. I think there was an announcement in email. Is there any interest in changing it from Perfect Mind, or do you feel like it's working for you? Is there any sort of lost revenue as a result of people not being able to use Perfect Mind, or I guess is it just word of mouth feedback versus an actual problem that needs to be addressed?
Our platform, Perfect Mind, is really working well for us. I think reading through the feedback, it was people just wanting it to be a little easier to sign up for lessons is what I heard the most, because that's where the demand is. And we've always had a challenge on the supply side, making recruiting and training and retaining enough swim instructors to meet the supply side. So that's what I heard. I didn't see too much about the website other than maybe a cosmetic or some updates to make it easier, or maybe on a mobile unit.
Okay, that's helpful. And then I would just caution away from comparing us to Menlo Park or another facility, just because they are so inherently different, both in the physical structure of the pools and the demand. And I think having this survey data, it's a lot of survey data, we're able to customize the program to what works for Palo Alto with the existing partnerships. And so while it's tempting to try to compare to that or Bellhaven or some of the other swim programs, it is just inherently different and customized. So it's always fun to see data, but I would just caution us away from using that to inform decisions and staffing and hours. And it seems like you guys have a good handle on that based on past practices. And then former Commissioner Cribbs always would end her comments with, is there anything that we can do for you? So is there anything that we can do for you as a commission?
We've been working closely with staff, and they've been responding very well and quickly. We just had a meeting last week with the Friends of Rinconada Pool, and it was, they're very pleased with everything, and I think there's harmony at this time, which is appreciated.
Great, we love to hear that. Thanks for everything that you do.
Yep.
Yes. I do have a question related to the customer survey and the revised, I guess you'd have a revised timeline for its distribution. Do you, based on the changes you made to the timing of the survey this year, do you believe you received better quality or more representative feedback than the prior surveys? And even though the overall response rates decline?
I thought we would get more respondents coming right out of summer while it's fresh in their minds, and we had more people thinking about aquatics, but indeed it was less than. But there's a lot of comments on the question, so it's people just not checking boxes, but people giving the feedback, and that's where our learnings are coming from, so that we can adjust our service to that. So that's always the crucial part to it. It's not always just the volume, but the quality of the comments and feedback.
So you feel that even though you have more respondents and less, you got better quality responses to the survey, you feel?
I think we always get really good feedback on our service and comments. We'll maybe rethink when we send it out next year. Maybe it's just a little later in the year, wait another month, and then send it out to see if that makes a difference, because we would love to hear from more than we did this year.
Correct. Well, you got some good responses. That was a good thing.
Yeah.
Good. Vice Chair Wei, I think your hand's up.
Yeah, thanks, Chair Freeman. So final minor question is actually inspired by a couple of commissioners previously mentioned about Menlo Park pools, because you also mentioned about your winter operations. I'm curious about, you were talking about in the winter, you rely on Menlo Park pools. Is it because the water temperature is high there, and they are also outdoor pools, right? Why that you moved some of the activity to the Menlo Park pools during the winter?
Actually, the activities stay the same. It's the lifeguard training courses that we move over there. And it's because the lifeguards are in and out of the water. So they go into the water to do and practice their skills, and they get out to then review and go through video. And so they're getting in and out of the water. And in Palo Alto, once they get out of the water, there's really no place to warm up. So the feedback from our instructors and the people training is it was just really uncomfortable when we're running classes in December, January, and February, because we're running them every month through the year, and sometimes every weekend through May, June, and July. But those colder months, and that's why we move it there.
Thank you.
It's good you have a good partnership with neighboring city probably can compare best practices as well. Yeah, do let us know what we can do to help you too. Thanks so much for the great work.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smith?
The contract with the city is how many years?
Until 28.
Till 28?
Yeah.
Okay. And is that comparable to other cities, that term, the terms,
It was a 5-year term, yeah, and so that's comparable, yes.
to most of the other cities?
Yes.
Good.
Okay, thank you again for the presentation, and so you're, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, just one more thing, because you said you have somewhat of a shortage of instructors in Palo Alto, and I know you have a wonderful junior lifeguard program. Is there some feeder from the junior lifeguard camp into lifeguard and then into ones that can actually do instruction?
That's the grand design, yes, and it takes time. And so our junior lifeguard program is actually very junior. So it's usually kids 8 to 11, 8 to 12, and then they have to be 15 to be a lifeguard. And the great thing is that there's a lot of shared lifeguards between all 3 facilities. Of course, there's lifeguards who have their home pools, but if there's need in Palo Alto, we can move lifeguards from Menlo Park to Palo Alto and vice versa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Great work.
Okay. Thank you again. Thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to Commissioner questions, comments, announcements, and future meetings and agendas. Anyone have any announcements? Yeah.
Our next meeting is going to be at regular time or regular date?
Correct. So this was your special meeting due to the holiday. Your next meeting is scheduled currently for January 27th, 7 p.m.
27th. And then we've talked about a retreat that tends to be in February.
Yes, thank you for bringing that up. You were sent a poll that during this meeting. We're polling everyone's availability for Friday, February 13th. We are selecting hopefully that day. If it doesn't work for the commission, we can go back out. There's morning period, a kind of lunch hour period, and then an afternoon period where we're polling to see if that works for the group or if any of the times there works for the group. It works well because it's not directly but before your regular meeting, so there's a little bit of space in between.
And what date was that again you were thinking?
Right now, we're polling for Friday, February 13th, and it would be at Mitchell Park Community Center.
Thank you.
You also want to indicate that we normally send out the work plan template to be completed, and that would be for the 2026 work plan. So if you want to ad hoc for that period of time, that's when that would take place.
Chair, would you like me, did you want to have me speak to potential upcoming agenda items, or did you want to move forward with from the group on ad hoc committees and liaison updates? Okay. So news to me, you got through that one agenda item rather quickly today, so I apologize for the miscommunication. So in January, right now, we have a Coverly update that will be coming. In addition, we're anticipating a rather lengthy discussion for CIPs. So we'll plan to reach out to the liaisons ahead of time to set up a time for review you, there's an option to keep it to just 2 items on the agenda. Or there's a possibility, I still would need to check with urban forester and arborist Peter Gollinger, but there's a possibility to move up the urban forestry update to see if, now that we have room on that January agenda. And then I guess I'll just run down February. We also have tennis pickleball item that will be coming back. This is an action item. And then pending on hearing back from another long-range planner, we're either calendaring the San Antonio Road area plan update for February. It could also be pushed to March, but I have it right now in the February agenda timeline. And then Palo Alto Youth Council will plan to give their update in February. And then if we want to go one more month, right now we even have either the urban forestry update, which I will check to see if we can add January, and the open space annual report currently. But those items are, don't have a specific timeline except urban forestry. So Commissioner Kleinhaus?
Just a question about Cubberley. It went to City Council yesterday. And so are we getting a different presentation or basically the same?
I believe it's a similar update.
So what is just an update? Like, what are they expecting from us? They've already discussed it and figured out. What are we expected to provide is my question.
I don't have that information in front of me, but I have added the placeholders. So I think it's an informational update.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any agenda items coming up in the next few months on updates on parks, playgrounds, kid spaces? I didn't see anything, but curious if there's anything that's scheduled.
A lot of that happens during the departmental report. In addition, I would state the capital improvement update, which is taking place at your next month's meeting, will dive deep into upgrades, parks, any capital improvement. So I think that's where we'll take quite a bit of time for that item.
Got it. And for the new folks here, for the 26 work plan, is that going to be mainly addressed at the offsite, or is that going to be worked through between the offsite and summer?
Typically, what I will end up doing is I will send a template. There will be accomplishments that will be provided by each ad hoc group. And then in terms of work plan, and I'm curious also on some of what the commissioners feel, because it's been done a little bit differently, but we also try and populate ahead of time because typically work plans are don't take place in a singular year, so there's quite a bit of rollover, and items that perhaps hadn't been completed, but there has been a very ambitious work plan for the past couple years, so I think streamlining some of that. I would also just note that during the item number 3, that took place earlier today, it sounds like there was consensus to bring the norms back there, and there's an intention to have a Brown Act refresher at the retreat. So we may need actually longer than the 3 hours we were anticipating for the work plan if we're going to squeeze all that in. So the poll didn't account for, I would say, item number 3 coming back at the retreat.
And our meetings always have to be at 7?
Actually, if that's something that the commission would be interested in having a dialogue, we can agendize that and have a discussion. It's really up to the commission as a whole.
My only thought is if we have some that's going longer, so. Over time, yeah, okay.
It
Well,
depends. It depends on how many items. We try and minimize the number of items that are going to carry on into midnight, so.
I guess we have flexibility, we talk. Good.
Okay.
Yeah, so that sounds good. What about, did you want to finish off the item for ad hoc? Let's see. Oh, was there consensus? Do we want to try to move up urban forestry to January to see if that's feasible? If so, we'll have 3 items. If not, we're okay with 2.
I think we have to talk about it and see how much time each one of those 2 items are going to take. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And then I think just the last item is ad hoc committees and liaison updates, if there's any.
Okay, so are there any ad hoc updates? I know we've just assigned most of you guys to the new one, so I will give an update, unless I lose my voice here, just on the racket courts policy update, which is, we're bringing that in on, hopefully in the February timeframe. So I did meet with Adam, and basically right now they're continuing to collect and analyze the court usage data for both pickleball and tennis. And this work is still underway. It started back in shortly after our last meeting. This work is still underway and intended to support the comprehensive presentation and recommendation to the full commission in February, the pickleball and tennis. So, given the importance of this topic and the fact that it will ultimately require a commission vote to forward a recommendation to the city council, I want to encourage the newer members of our commission to familiarize themselves with the prior discussions. And I think city staff's going to send out a link to that. I think we have one discussion for
I
that.
can send an email
Okay.
to the commission as a whole.
It's just a matter of reviewing that information. And that's pretty much the only thing I have. Anyone else? Okay, so that's a quickie. 10 o'clock, let's adjourn. Thank you.
Yeah.